All right, welcome to North Georgia Advocate Podcast 30. I'm Chris Dyer. I'm here with Gerald Chhadua. We're going to get into a few things today in a quick 45 minutes episode or so. We've not got a lot going on this week, but last week and a half, but we've got a lot of important stuff going on. You know, we've got we still got the sheriff couch thing going on. We've still got a lot of developments that have been put off through October and probably going to be pushed off through November. Some of them so they can get proper traffic studies. And we've got, and we've got the school board fixing to raise our property tax rates. Before we get into all that, let's talk about the Schofields, and they've been pushing this Dialectical Skills group and trying to put therapy in all over the Hall County schools and intertwine it into our school systems. And they finally got a watered down version of it passed through the state. They're implementing that stuff in all level 3 schools or below, which are failing schools. I think there's 5 levels. You got level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. And and most of the schools that are level 3 are economically disadvantaged and, or live in poor counties, and they don't have the resources and the teachers that don't want to live there. I mean, their towns are drying up. There's no manufacturing, and that's what the Schofields have done in Hall County. They cater to and go after the underprivileged kids and the kids that don't have resources and kind of prey on them a little bit. And we've done extensive research on this stuff, and now they're getting that stuff implemented through the state, and North Georgia RESA is promoting this stuff. One of their board members, Kevin Tanner, helped the Schofields get this passed through at the state level. And, and that's just something that is very controversial with therapy being in schools. You've got counselors for a reason. Let the teacher send the kids to the counselor, then the counselors can, get the kids the help they need. They can talk to the parents and they can work on, hey, do we need to bring in a counselor, outside counselor, to talk to them like during PE or one of their dead periods, that they could miss, not like a learning period, or do they need to get outside help? We don't need to be having our teachers, they're training our teachers and our parapros to become pseudo therapists per se. And that is not what our kids go to school for. And I don't think the parents are being told the truth. And that's what's going on. I mean, what is your opinion on this, Bill?
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion here. I'm not too familiar with the whatchamacallit, but this is kind of similar stuff that goes on in, from what I understand, in states like California and Washington, where schools try to get by certain things and push them onto kids without parents fully realizing, or without being fully transparent with the parents as to what it is. So doesn't seem like the best thing to be doing.
Well, a couple of years ago, to justify their program, they had the Schofields. Let me preface this by saying they've been going around the southeast in the state pushing their DSG on other school systems and doing seminars, charging them $400 to $500 a person. They charge like $350 for the books, and then another $150 to go to the 2-day seminar, and they give them a certificate where they've been trained in Dialectical Skills Group, DSG, which is dialectical behavior therapy. And it's a controversial therapy for children. Now, it works in adults. It's been a proven legitimate therapy, but it's a long-term therapy. It's not something you can go to the psychologist 2 or 3 times, or for 2 or 3 months, and fix your issues. I mean, it's for deeper issues, and it's controversial, and to kind of legitimize themselves, they needed to get a medical association or psychology group to back their study. And Joey had finally kind of got Emory involved with her a couple of years ago, and how they snaked the parents in, it was unethical. They put the forms on Campus Portal or Infinite Campus, whichever one they use. The city uses one and the county uses another. I can't remember. But anyway, and the parents usually go on there and have to sign their forms instead of them sending they put it on the app. And if the parents didn't go in there and physically sign the non-consent form, they use that as saying that the parents gave consent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unethical as hell. I mean, if you don't have a consent form signed, you should not be able to do anything. And, and it's just not right. And now this time they're hiding the consent form inside those forms again, but it's kind of in like the student handbook, from what we understand. We won't know officially until school starts August 7th, but what we understand, they're hidden inside those student handbooks, to where parents usually have to go in there and sign a form saying, hey, can the kids be used in school photos and, and imagery and all that stuff. They get parental consent, like put in advertisements and all that. They're hiding the mental health inside those forms. They're not being upfront with these parents of what's going on. And then on top of that, they bought a house down in Chicopee next to Jones Early College and turned it into a therapy office. They're kind of intertwining this mental health into everything that they do. And we got kids graduating that read at 6th, 7th, 8th grade levels. We don't need mental health in our schools. We need teaching in our schools.
Yeah, we need to teach literacy and math skills. Basic literacy skills.
And that's a lot of the mental health problems, because these kids can't learn up to the speed and the grade level of other kids, so they get picked on, and they start having issues, and that starts the ball rolling. It all starts with the proper education.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, some kids just have health issues and disabilities. But a lot of it could be handled just by, if you're in 4th grade and you don't read at grade level, there's like a 60 different studies, anywhere from 60 to 74%. The studies say that they're going to end up in the legal system at some point.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be in jail, but they're going to be on probation, or they're going to be, they're going to be in trouble. And it all starts with, reading and learning. And another thing in Hall County is, at one point, 2 or 3 years ago, we only had like 23 certified counselors for 37 schools. And as a parent, when you go to the counselor's office, or your kid goes to the counselor, you just take for granted that person's certified to do their job. They're qualified to do their job. And that's not the case in many instances. Sometimes you had one counselor going to 3-4 different schools. They put them in all the high schools, but you had one counselor going to several elementary schools. And that's just not good.
Back when I was in school, so it's a little bit hard for me to kind of put.
Right. Yeah, we didn't have none of
I
those.
don't have a kid in school at the moment either, so.
But see, I had 2 that graduated right when all this was coming on. My oldest, he was having issues from some stuff going on in his mother's house, and he was having to talk. And the city at the time had a psychologist would come to the school certain days a week, and he would set up 30-minute sessions to talk to the kids individually if they needed it. But it was all voluntary. That is not what's going on in Hall County.
Right.
You know, that's totally separate. I mean, that's something like that's doable and viable. But now they're training our teachers and parapros to do this stuff. You know, and that's just how it's being implemented. It's just unethical, and it's not fair to these kids. It's not fair to these parents. And I'm glad my kids graduated right before it started being implemented. My nephew lived with us for a couple of years, and he graduated 2021. And that was right when that year was the year they started implementing all this stuff. So, you know, right now, you know, it's just we're crossing lines that we don't need to be crossed. You know, in my opinion, and I think if the parents actually knew what was going on, they would be outraged as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I think they take advantage of the fact that, you know, parents do have 9 to 5s or 9 to 6s. Can't always be there, can't be that involved in their kids' stuff just because they're constantly, you know, busy just trying to keep up with the, you know, just trying to be able to afford life.
Yeah, and if
as
they're
it is, so
9 to 5s, you know, they either got a factory job working 7 to 3 or 3 to 7, or
right, exactly.
You know, and it's always interlocking with. They're either gonna miss them leaving to go to school, or they're gonna miss them coming home from school, or
something.
You know, yeah, something. They can't be there. And when the school system's got your kids 40 hours a week, you know, and they're mandated to be there, they're gonna put your mom and daddy in jail. You know, they're taking advantage of that situation, and it's just not fair to anybody involved.
Yeah.
So, well, enough on that. Now, let's talk about this sheriff thing. I know that the girls are working hard that are trying to get these groups. They have stuff set up all over the county. They're finally getting organized, and I think they're finally realizing what big of a task this is. They're going to end up having to get 45 to 48,000 votes. They've got to get like 42,040 votes or something to legitimate signatures that are registered voters to be able to get this in court and recall him, and get him possibly kicked out of office. And, the thing is that's a lot of people, and they can't approach people the way the rules are set up. They can't approach people. I mean, they can't just set up in a parking lot and say, "Hey, do you want to sign the recall on Sheriff Cap?" Or they can't go up they have to put up posters, and the people have to approach them before they can say anything.
Yeah, this, like I said in the last podcast too, this is a massive uphill battle, and it's rigged.
Yeah, and they can't
for the elected officials.
Right, and they can't go to. They couldn't even go to Rabbit Town Cafe because there's a liquor store across the street and a convenience store next door that sells beer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That means they can't go in front of Walmart. They can't go in front of Kroger. They can't go in front of anywhere. So they're having to find spots on the side of the road that's nowhere near convenience stores or anything,
mm-hmm.
or go to church parking lots. And some of the churches are out because what if there's a convenience store half a block down, a couple blocks down the road, I mean, and I think they need to loosen that up unless they're selling the alcohol right there to freaking.
Well, I mean, what would Free Chapel be not an option at that point?
No, they've got the liquor store. They got the convenience stores right across the street. And, Then,
I mean, there's not it has to be X amount of ways, or it's just
yeah,
you can't have
it's got to be so many feet away, so many thousand feet away.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't think it's going to be a crazy amount. I think you could probably set up in front of Free Chapel, but the question is, what Free Chapel let you set up?
No, they wouldn't let you set up there. Their money
Right.
grabbing. And, and so, it's just tough. And they can't, I mean, they're getting some good response. They're setting up at the corner of East Hall Road Joe Chandler Road and Old Cornelia Highway out in East Hall. They've got a spot it's up in Quillian's Corner, right before you get to North Hall Ace Hardware. I call it the old North Ace Hardware because the old owners don't own it anymore. They sold it to a new group. It's the True Value now, but it's still called. But anyway, and they've got a couple of, let me look at their options here. I got it right here. They've got one on Old Cornelia Highway in the corner of Dana Drive, set up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They're at the North Hall Community Center every Wednesday night from 5 to 6:30. Then they're at the Hills off Mountain View off 365. That's way up 365. I thought that was in Habersham County, but I guess not. So it's up that way from 2 to 6 on August 3rd. Then they're at the Quillian's Corner spot every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 10 to 6. Up at 5029 Cleveland Highway. And they're at Alberta Banks Park every Thursday from 5 to 8 out on Jim Crow Road. Then they're at the Cherokee Bluff Community. I think they mean the community center down in South Hall, ain't Cherokee Bluff. But
well, as many people as there are on Facebook that bitch and complain about the sheriff and holding him to a higher standard, I hope they're showing up and meeting up the Melanie and everybody that's helping her,
Alicia, and all those women that are getting there, and then
everybody that's helping Melanie show up and actually signing the petition.
Yep. Now they're going to be on Laddie Road at Laddie Schoolhouse tomorrow from 10 to 12 and 4 to 6. And they're going to be August 1st. That's tomorrow. No, that's today at Laddie Schoolhouse. Then tomorrow they're going to be in Gillsville, wherever 2704 Gillsville Highway is. And we got all these places up in our group on Facebook, and I'm going to put them on the website later today because they just have updated all these maps because they're getting more and more volunteers. But the thing is, they've got till like September 5th or 6th, I believe, to get it in. But technically, they've got to be done by the end of August because it's going to take them 2 or 3 days to compile the information together, and they've got to go get it certified and notarized. They've got to put it in a binder, and they've got to print out all the pages, put it in binders, and go get it notarized. So that's going to take some time. So, it ain't like they can just put it on a thumb drive and,
right.
They can't scan it into the computer and put it on a thumb drive. It's got to be literally printed out and all that stuff. So,
like I said, man, they've made this much harder for really anybody to ever get recalled. The logistics of it aren't the best, and it's a massive uphill battle for anybody trying to do this, especially if you don't have the community reach you could say, as in Hall County. You got a lot of people that want to complain on Facebook about this and that, but then unless it affects them directly, they're not showing up to sign a petition or to go vote or
Yeah.
to the meetings to stand with their neighbors or anything like that. So yeah, it's a little tough. And the rules of being X amount, you can't be here, you can't do it here, you can't approach people. So that's all silly to me. What if there's people that don't understand or that don't even know that there's a petition going on to recall the sheriff for driving under the influence in a county car? It's not like it's they're recalling him just for the shits and giggles. They're recalling him for serious reasons.
Well, I don't have an issue so much as everything he did wrong. Don't get me wrong. Let me clarify myself. Like I say, if he went to a dinner or something and was coming home and had 3 or 4 beers and got a DUI coming home from a work dinner or something, that's one thing. But this dude was out in the hospital the night before, checked himself out of the hospital from being too drunk, went and got more liquor at the liquor store at 6 a.m. when they started selling, and got pulled over that morning drunk as a dog after he purposely went and got his county vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue I've got. I don't have a problem. People mess up. If they get a DUI, that's okay. I mean, is it the most ethical thing in the world? No, but it's not the be all end all. But doing what this guy did, knowing he just got out of the hospital, checked himself out of the hospital for being too drunk, then goes gets more alcohol, then goes and gets his county vehicle, that's where you have to draw, that's where it's over.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But then also being an elected official, you're supposed to be the head honcho for the people and enforcing the law.
Yeah.
So
they just fired a dude for getting a DUI last week, a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just like you're held to a higher standard at that point too. So
no doubt. And elected officials, they're protected by certain things that normal rank and file employees aren't. And
right.
And I get they've got to make it hard for people to be recalled, because if it wasn't, every time somebody got pissed at their commissioner, they'd be recalled. Trying to kick them out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, you gotta have X amount of signatures and whatnot, but at the same time,
you can't make it impossible.
Yeah, and as many liquor licenses there are in all the convenience stores there are, I mean, that's a lot of foot traffic. So if you're not able to sit there and collect signatures or even approach people to be able to collect signatures,
why can't
you're making it nearly impossible.
Yeah, why can't you door knock? Why can't they just canvass?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
And they can't go and sit up at the front of these big neighborhoods like Sterling on the Lake or places, because the homeowners associations, if they don't like it, they're gonna kick you off.
Yeah, and I think again, like something like this it's one of those things where I think I would feel like, even some of the HOA folks, they're gonna whine and complain online, but when it comes time to, hey, help us collect signatures or give us the space in front of Sterling or in front of Royal Lakes or really any subdivision or anything like that, are they going to show up and actually help these people that are trying to collect signatures and hold somebody accountable?
No, most times not. These people in the HOA just on power kicks, most of them.
Yeah. Yep.
And and what people don't understand is, say it goes to court and say the judge rules against them, say there's not enough, which is highly possible. Happened to Gavin Newsom in California. He got recalled, and the judge told the recall people to pound sand. They had a bunch of stuff on him. I'm just throwing it out there. Then that means that the girls doing this are going to be responsible for the court costs.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened when Mark Pettit got recalled a few years ago, probably a decade ago or whenever now. Him and another guy got recalled, and they got lost, and they had to and I had to pay all court costs, you know, and that gets expensive. I mean, these girls, I take my hat off to them. They're taking a huge risk. And if anybody wants to sign, go sign. Don't procrastinate. Go ahead and get it over with. I'd planned on going yesterday. I had to take my dog to the vet, and it took me like 2 hours at the vet. They were way behind, so I didn't have time to get up there. But I'm going to go tomorrow and sign tomorrow morning up at Williams Corner. I'm hopefully going to be able to do a live broadcast for us up there while they're signing, so people can do a Facebook Live on the North Georgia Advocate page, so people can see what they're doing and what they're going through.
Sure, you know? Yeah.
And hopefully it'll give them a little bit of perspective of what's going on. And I want to give a shout out, to Melanie and Tanya. Melanie, she's organized most of this, her and Tanya and Felicia. And it's Tanya Bates, Hagwood, and, she's doing a great job. And Melanie Gash and all the other girls, they've organized this, and, they're not getting paid to do this. This is a lot of work being at these places from 10 to 6 during the week. And Melanie does it after she gets off work. She works a full-time job, and so do a lot of these other ladies. So, let's support them and do what we can. So now let's get into this nonsense with the Board of Education raising our property taxes. You knew it was coming. Schofield's been belly aching for the last year and a half about costs and how they keep going up, and we're going to be running a shortfall. They had to dip into the rainy day fund and all this stuff. Well, cut costs, cut spending. Don't raise our property taxes. He's raising our property taxes from 14.99 to 15.49 mils, which equates to a 6.9% increase to regular property owners. When everybody's feeling raised came, well, I thought they capped it at 3%. The state capped it at 3%, and the county did as well, only for people with homestead exemptions. If you don't have any type of homestead exemption, you bear the brunt of the full tax increase. It's 6.9% this year. My property taxes went up $400. Well, $290 something, but it ends up being, after the fees and all that, it's going to end up being right at $350. And I was talking to a lady last night. She built her house. When she first built her house 30 years ago, her property taxes were $600. Now they're $3,600. And she lives in Oakwood, down off in the Tanner's Mill Road and Strickland Road area, on a 1.3 acres worth of land. So that tells you her property is probably worth what, $600,000 or $700,000 if she's paying $3,600.
Right.
So I think I'm paying $2,400 this year. Mine's worth, like, the county's value was $290,000 or something, roughly $290,000. And it's just the county is bringing in more money by default just because of inflation. Because everybody's taxes are going up. Even like last year, they kept the millage rate flat, but they still brought in several tens of millions of dollars more because of inflation. When your property values are up 40, 50, 60, sometimes 100%, that's just more money, and Schofield's spending more money. They had $11 million deficit this year.
That's crazy for you to have a deficit even when your property taxes increase, or you increase property taxes on folks.
Yeah. And then you turn around and look at them. What, last week we exposed what they're paying $800,000 for a staffing company. You know, $600,000 to get a courthouse designs that they can't even. They don't even know if they can build on a spot yet. And then we turn around and find out they're paying Free Chapel $84,000 to hold graduations there.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Free Chapel's giving the use of the building free, but the county's got to pay for everything else, from the workers to the security to the cleanup. Have this stuff at their high schools, at the football field or something, and it'd be a one-time expense for all these schools, and then after that, it's done. There's ways to cut costs. It's just they've got to be creative to. And then we found out that something that's fixing to come out, that the county's holding like almost $100 million in their rainy day fund, and that's against the law, we believe. Their max that they're supposed to hold is 15% for rainy day fund. Like the city of Gainesville's only got like 10 or 11 million in their rainy day fund. Like Buford's only got 10 or 11 million, something like that. All counties got like 99 million. I mean, come on. What you need that money for? I mean,
that courthouse probably.
This is just the Board of Education. This ain't the Hall County government. And you got that money in a rainy day fund, but then you're going to do a $50 million addition and go get a bond on it. Why don't you pay cash for the addition and replace that money when you get your SPLOST money or something? There's ways to cut costs. People don't understand, even though we're paying like 1% on bonds because they got a AAA rating, 1% on millions and millions of dollars is a lot of money.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those things where, hey, let's just take on more debt so that way it looks like we're constantly running low on funds, so then we can just constantly keep asking for, because you're trying to paint a narrative that we just don't have, we never have enough money, regardless of how much we go up on taxes. We just don't ever have enough money.
Right. Yeah, they get these bonds, they say, and that's why what Tyler exposed, what Hall County and the school and the city of Gainesville each had $100 million overpayments for SPLOST. Well, it may have been 50 each or whatever, but it was still a lot of money over what they were expected to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And any of that money they bring in, they're supposed to either rebate to the people and tax rebates, or they can, they got to pay off debt with it. And Tyler, what he say, last year they had so much overpayment with the last SPLOST that they would have paid for everybody in the county's property taxes if they had rebated.
Right.
Now it's just something stupid, but they're not going to give that money back. You're taking out funds for everything, and
power hungry and whatchamacallit.
Oh yeah, well, in Schofield, he's been belly aching for years. Insurance costs are going up. I just can't comprehend. It's because the state's got a monopoly on what insurance plans that they offer, that the school systems don't have a choice. They can't go out and find their own insurance plans. The state mandates who they got to use. I just can't fathom having to pay $7,200 per employee for their family. That just seems like highway robbery to me. But when the state mandates it and strangleholds the market, and there's no competition, these insurance companies they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole plan too, is to that you make And insurance companies lobby for this too, where try to keep competitors out by raising the bar of the barriers to entry and qualifications to kind of be able to bid on stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and you're looking at an extra $500,000. It don't seem like a lot. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's only $250. It's only $300 more." Spread out over 12 months, it don't seem like a lot. But Hall County's got 70,000 property owners. You know, that generates a lot of money.
Well, if you can do a $500,000 budget just for the Board of Education, and then almost another $500,000 for the county, you definitely got a lot of money coming in.
Well, yeah, the county, I think they're keeping their millage rates flat.
Yeah,
they wanted to keep.
Well, I mean, it's easy to keep millage rates flat if you're raising folks' property values.
Well, I will give. When I say flat, I kind of misspoke. They wanted to keep the same revenue coming in. Whether that meant
their budget hasn't increased that much.
No, their budget
from last year, right?
Their budget increased like
I think it was like 0.4%.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was like
it was a small amount.
Yeah, no, and so they basically kept spending flat. And I will give David Gibbs and them credit. They did cut spending in many places to keep the budget the same. Did they cut it enough? No. There's still a lot of waste out there, but at least they're trying. At least Gibbs has got them trying. You know, but Schofield ain't got no intentions. You know, that farm still keeps eating up money. And I know I keep harping on that freaking farm, but how much?
But I mean, it's valid harping though. You know, it's not like you're just picking on it for no reason. There's a reason we keep bringing it up as one of the most in your face waste of taxpayer money that could possibly, you know, be going on in this
well, it's cost us
county right now.
Yeah, it's cost us at least $13 million or so. It cost between 9 and 11 to build it.
Right.
So we know for a fact Schofield went in there and ripped the cabinets out because he didn't like them and put new cabinets in there. You know, nothing wrong with them. He just didn't like how they look. You know, and he's got to pay to fund it. There's only like 18 or 20 kids that work there. If you're not a student at North Hall or East Hall or Chestatee, you can't go there and take classes. I mean, you can't expect the kid to get from Cherokee Bluff to freaking North Hall and then back. I mean, that's a whole day.
Right.
You know, and he claimed that, you know, they was going to make their money back by not having to purchase beef and chicken and stuff from third-party sources. They was going to grow it all at the farm and process it. But the farm ain't big enough. They can only have 50 head of cow. That can't even feed North Hall. You know.
And again, it's like it's being transparent and lying your way to get your narrative across. Because again, the parents aren't checking the stuff. Majority of the parents aren't checking this stuff and calling out on the BS. And that's just from the Board of Education meetings. We know the turnout for those is very low outside of a few of the advocates for the citizens that show up on a regular basis, and they have very little power. When, you know, I mean, you saw the comment section on the WDUN post about the increase in the meetings and whatnot. People are outraged and whatnot. Let's see if they actually show up to these meetings and raise hell. Because it's easy to get mad in the comment section.
Yeah.
Go get mad in Will Schofield's face. You know, go get mad at the board in front of the board and show them how pissed you really are, if you are truly that pissed.
Well, and it worked for the 3% cap, because for the state, people don't understand, the state let these municipalities opt out of the 3% cap if they wanted to. The citizens filled that room and put Schofield and them on notice, and they didn't opt out of the 3% cap. The Hall County government did, but the Hall County Board of Education didn't opt out. And because that room, I mean, it was packed to the gills. And, you know,
Well, a lot of the funding, a lot of your taxes end up being school taxes. So
yeah,
I get why more people showed up to that.
it's
You know,
60%, it's between 60 and 70% of what your taxes are
yeah,
school taxes. And then this year, he's got to have 3 public meetings before they can vote on it. They're having one August 10th at the Board of Education building on Green Street. Then they're having 2 on August 24th, one at 10 a.m. or 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning, and then one at 6 p.m. before the 7 p.m. voting meeting. So after they have that second hearing, they're going to vote on it immediately right after. So, you know, and I'll give Gibbs credit for the courthouse. He tried his best to have meetings where people could go 6 to 8 at night, you know, and he had it to where it was people getting off work and they, you know, and they was after supper kind of, and they could go. And Schofield ain't doing that. He's just having his 3 meetings because he's got to. And we don't.
I mean, two of the meetings are on the same day.
Yeah, August 24th, and we don't have.
And that's just him trying to pack them in as quickly as possible, get it out the way, so we can go ahead and increase it.
Exactly.
There's nothing more than that.
And what makes me the worst mad is Schofield works for the Board of Education, but we don't have any board members with enough spine to stand up to it.
Right.
If they don't agree with it, they just don't show up at the meetings. I've never, in the 3 years we've been doing this, almost 3 or 2.5 years we've been following this, I've not seen one board member stand up to Schofield at a meeting. It's unanimous votes every single time. And our chairman don't even run the meeting. Schofield runs every single one of them. And the way the meetings are set up, they're supposed to be run. The superintendent's just there to answer any questions in case anybody has any questions.
Right.
It's up to the board members to run the meetings. The superintendent's not even supposed to be involved in the meetings. He's supposed to just be a bystander. And that's not how ours are done.
Well, this has been going on for quite some time now. So
when you're in power for 20 years and he's got no intentions of going anywhere. I think his salary goes up this coming year to $316,000 plus retirement and benefits. He's making over $500,000 a year overall off the taxpayers.
Very nice.
And he's going to raise our taxes, because he won't cut spending. And then they built that, $3.2 million electric vehicle training program facility down at Flowery Ranch High School. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great program, but it shouldn't be in our high schools. They should be going to Lanier Tech or somewhere taking classes for it.
Right.
It should be in the early college program or something. It shouldn't be at one of our high schools. Just like the farm, they should be working with these local farmers, and if these kids want to learn farming and all that, they can co-opt it with the farmers instead of costing our taxpayers money every week. It's just ridiculous of what's going on, and it's got to stop. And then on top of this, there's an article in the paper now. Schofield's a lifetime farmer now, a lifetime cattleman. He went to Wyoming and was superintendent, I believe it was Wyoming or Montana, almost positive Wyoming. And was a school superintendent for 1 year after he left West Hall High School as a teacher or an administrator there, and went to be a superintendent for 1 year, then came back to Hall County. And I guess he goes out to Wyoming for 1 year, then he comes back, John Dutton from Yellowstone. I mean, come on. I mean, the dude don't even know how to run that farm up there. The farm don't even know how to price their own beef. They're basically going to grocery store, seeing what they're pricing it, and then pricing it around the same price. They don't even know what they got cost per pound. We've had people go up there on tours and ask how much they got per pound in each thing. They can't tell. They don't know.
Can't tell you. Yeah, no, they can't tell you.
They have no clue what they're doing. That don't mean the dude running the butcher shop where they're training the kids to cut the meat up. He knows what he's doing and teaching the kids. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they don't know how to run a animal science center and a meat packing plant and a processing center. They don't know what their costs are. And how much per student is it costing Hall County? The county puts in, it costs taxpayer, I think in Hall County it's like $17,000. In the state of Georgia, overall, there's $17,000 per student, what the government pays. And it's costing way more than that per student to run that animal science center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at what, 18 to 20 kids, maybe, that work there. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and it's a ego, narcissistic type vibes from Schofield at this point. I mean, you've seen some of the photos that have been printed of him in the Gainesville Times, and he's yelling at people that are coming up there to have public opinions and whatnot. And again, this guy has no one's checked him. That's the problem, is he's gone unchecked for 20 plus years, and it's just like our board of commissioners too. They've gone unchecked for so long. It's like, how dare you come in, question me, or try to hold me accountable for this and that.
Exactly.
So, well,
they're used to, if anybody ever questioned them, they'd come up with some bullshit story and it would placate the people. And people go, oh, okay, that sounds good. And never question it again. So, I'm just, it just gets, until the people stand up and can come out, then nothing's going to change.
Right.
And I don't know, we got to get a board of education in there that'll stand up the superintendent. They don't work for the superintendent. Superintendent works for them. And it's been turned upside down in Hall County. And one thing before we get off here, I just want to congratulate Tyler Crawford for all of his hard work and everything that Gina she did not get her signatures. She turned in 1,740, I think, and she had to have like 16, 18 to qualify, and it only took him like a week to determine that. So she must have had I don't know, they didn't release how many were not valid, signatures were not valid, but they released that she would not be on the fall ballot, so Tyler will be on there unopposed. So he is going to be our District 3 commissioner for Hall County, and now he can get to work.
I don't think he's going to make it onto the ballot, though, at that point, right? I think they would just call it, not even put him on the ballot.
Yeah, they have to put him on the ballot. With Mark. Yeah, Mark will be on the ballot as well. He'll just be unopposed.
Oh, okay. Okay. I figured they just wouldn't hold elections for those two seats anymore. Like they've been called.
Yeah, they have to be on there since there were possible. But yeah, it's but Tyler can get to work and start implementing his game plan, and we're hoping to have him on in the next couple of shows to. Now he can stop campaigning and and get into the nitty gritty of what his goals are, and
right.
Instead of just getting into, he's talked into detail about some of it, but now we can see he knows who's going to make up the board with him. He knows it's going to be him and Mark, and Billy and Jesto and Gibbs. So he knows the makeup of it. Now he knows what he thinks he can legitimately get done with the makeup of the board. You know, whether we can see some change, no change. And the key is going to be Mark. Nobody really knows. We know what he's saying, and what he's saying sounds good. You know, we don't know him like we know Tyler. We know Tyler's going to be,
right.
You know, so he's the wild card in all this. So it's going to be an exciting time, I think. And it's going to be interesting to see who these people put on these planning commission as well, you know, and all these other commissions and boards that are going on. It's, you know, I don't think, when's the last time there's 2 commissioners put on Hall County Board of Commissioners?
Brand new.
Huh?
You're talking about 2 brand new commissioners?
2 brand new commissioners. Yeah. I mean,
right.
I can't remember the last time. It's had to be since 2010 when Steve Gailey retired, and, you know, and Tom Oliver went off right after him. I mean, I don't think that, I can't remember a time when we had 2 new commissioners. So now we just got to find somebody that can run and beat Billy Powell. And then we can have a good makeup of a board. So
yeah, we'll get a better idea of next, I would say sometime in January, February next year of who's going to be running potentially for District 2.
Yeah. And
I know I'm gonna try to, for sure.
That'll be good.
Throw my hat in the ring, but I'm consciously thinking about whether, you know, I even want to run as a Democrat or a Republican or any of that, because I don't want to. Both parties suck, in my views. So it's like, you know, do you go to the lesser of 2 evils or try to go Gina's route of running independent?
I'd look into libertarian, you know, possibly.
Yep.
I mean, it's anything where you can get in there without having to get the signatures. I think the signature requirements are just asinine.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that the qualifying fees.
But at that point, is it even worth running as a libertarian? Because then you have the MAGA votes here that are automatically going to, if it's incumbent, goes right back to him, and or a possible other Republican nominee. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, is it even worth the effort when you got folks that are just like, you know,
they're voting party line, no matter what.
Yeah, vote on the party line. So,
and you got Democrats like that. You got the Republicans are definitely like that. They could run. I mean, Adolf Hitler could come back from the dead, and as long as he put an R by his name, the Republicans would vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now and I'm not trying to claim Trump's Hitler, but I mean, you see
close enough. And you're aiding and abetting a genocide. It's close enough.
You know, you've got his followers are just. Here we got.
Yeah, but that's on both sides, though. You see that on the Democratic side too. You still have people defending Obama like he was the reborn version of Jesus Christ or something.
Yeah, no doubt. And and it's just, but I will say Obama didn't go out buying stakes in public businesses. Now the government owns stake in 10 or 12 businesses.
Well, I mean, during Obama's term, during the entire bailout, that initial bailout that they did
with General Motors,
the U.S. government, yeah, they did take stakes in GM.
They didn't take ownership. They didn't take ownership stake. They put a lien on it, kind of. If the GM didn't pay the money back, they would put it up for sale.
I gotcha. I thought they took equity stakes or invested in those companies.
They invested, but it was as a silent. They didn't take ownership. They just invested. It was.
I gotcha.
It was kind of like a lien to where if the GM didn't pay them back, See, Ford didn't take any money. Chrysler paid them all their money back. GM didn't pay hardly any money back, but Obama wrote the debt off because he didn't want a foreign company buying General Motors.
Yeah, probably would have been better off let GM get bought out by
Stellantis ended up buying Chrysler and Jeep because after they paid the federal government back, that took all their cash away. So they still couldn't operate, so. But I mean, and that stuff and stuff like that. And the reason we kind of kick it around on this program is because it reaches all the way down to the local levels. If you follow the 9th District Facebook group for the GOP, they're not talking local politics on there. It's all Donald Trump, or it's all, or other GOP stuff. National stuff. It's not state and local, which they should be worrying about.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything's gotten hijacked on a national level, so you're not paying attention to the local BS. That's robbing you blind too.
Yeah, no. A couple of weeks ago, I was debating with them about they've got double standards. They're taking up for Trump, but they were blistering with the same stuff they blistered Biden for. And I said, look, wrong's wrong. And they kept making excuses. I said, quit making excuses and moving the goalpost. I said, what you need to be worrying about is forcing Shannon Davidson either kick him out of the party or make him endorse Tyler Crawford again in his race against Gina. I said, he never called Tyler. He never conceded to Tyler, even though he did make a Facebook post claiming he got saying he got beat. I said, he never endorsed him like he promised he would. I said, why aren't you holding him to any standards like that? They never responded to me.
How are you going to respond to the truth?
No, they don't want to be held accountable.
Right.
They just want to cause divisiveness, and and
it's got to be a massive embarrassment for a homegrown Republican to get beat in the fashion that he did.
Yeah.
What they call a California boy. So, that's what that is. That's a massive slap in the face and a piece of humble pie.
And then he didn't have the guts to even tell Gibbs he was quitting the planning commission.
Yeah.
They just quit.
I mean, it's his true character really showed out during the entire primaries.
Yeah, he cowboy bebop his ass on that,
Yeah, you saw his true colors come out.
If I did,
and then of course the people that he had working for him on his campaign too, you saw the true colors of that come out too. So
yeah, no doubt. And if I did business with him, I'd find somebody else. There's other dental labs in Gainesville and Hall County you can deal with.
Yeah, but they're all part of the good old boy club. They don't care about any of that.
No. So, but yeah, it's anything else you want to get involved in today?
No.
Just remember, we got meetings coming up. We'll have them, I think, August 8th or something like that. It's the next Board of Commissioners meeting. I hadn't got it pulled up in front of me, but there's nothing really going on that's imperative right now. I mean, all of them's important because you never know what the hell they're going to put on that consent agenda. How much money they're going to be blowing or whatever, But we'll have the meeting minutes, and as soon as they come out, we'll have the meeting minutes up, and we'll have all the meeting stuff and the link to where the videos where you can watch them in the Facebook group. And I'm going to start putting them on the website again as well. I've just been swamped. And also, I do want to give Tyler Crawford another shout out. He's taken pictures and sent them to the Georgia DOT so much. Not his personal pictures, but photos he's found online of wrecks and stuff that happen all the time at Highway 52 and 365 up in Lula, right there at the Waffle House and the big intersection. He posted pictures on Instagram. I seen it last night. They put up a turn signal there. So cars don't have to, try to take their chances and turn across those lanes of traffic.
Right.
So that'll be good. Still not the best, but but it's a whole lot better than it was. There ain't really much you can do with that intersection unless you put off ramps on it. I mean, all you can do is put turn.
That'll come eventually as a growth continues to head that way.
Yeah, the state, when they were building 365, they should have just made it limited access all the way up instead of stopping it at Rabbit.
Well, they turned it into like almost like a state highway at that point instead of an interstate.
Yeah, they should have kept going with the interstate. And I understand you can't look ahead 50 years and see growth coming up all this way, but at the same point, it was a main thoroughfare to Grant, up to North Carolina, and you can't have these access roads going, these non-access roads cutting across a big highway like that. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So, well, we appreciate you listening, and we will be back probably next Wednesday or Friday, and look out for us. I'm going to hopefully have a live broadcast up from the election. My brain's fried. The sheriff recall site up in Quillian's Corner tomorrow. I'll be up there tomorrow morning, so look out for that. We will see y'all next week. Yep, stop.